Before we start our work for today, it's time to check our work from yesterday. So pause the video here and check your answers from yesterday. What I've done is I've made sure each time I've put the answer in its simplest form. So check your answers and mark them from yesterday. If you found this really tricky, please do let me know. Send me a private message on Dojo and let me know if you're still finding this work quite tricky. And then this was the second part of the worksheet. So pause the video here and mark your answer. And finally, the word problem. So the common denominator that I found was 8. So I turned 3/4 into 6/8. And then I added them together because like the question says, how far did she walk all together? So I know I need to add them together. I did 1/8 plus 6/8, which gave me 7/8. And I know I can't reduce this fraction any further because there is not a number that goes into 7 and 8 without leaving a remainder. Good morning, Year 5, and today we're going to be carrying on with our work on fractions, and we're going to be looking at subtracting from whole amounts. So what do you notice about the numerator and denominator when a fraction is equal to one whole? So in front of you, you can see that we've got one whole, okay? And I'm going to be splitting it into different fractions, but showing that fraction still as one whole. So first of all, I'm going to split it into 2 parts. So I've split my fraction into 2 parts. And I've coloured in 2 of those parts to equal a whole. And you can see that that's 2/2. I've now split my bar into 3 parts, and I've coloured in all 3 parts. So I've got a whole, and the whole is 3/3. It's now been split into 4 to show 4 is equal to one whole, 4/4. Now into 5. So you've got one whole or 5/5. When it's been split into 6 and you've shaded in all the parts, you've got one whole or 6/6. So what do you notice about the numerator and denominator when a fraction is equal to one whole? So we know that 4/4 or 4/4 is equal to one whole. The bar has been split into 4 equal parts. So that's our denominator. And then all 4 parts have been shaded in, 4 out of 4. So you have one whole. Imagine if you had a pizza and you cut your pizza into 4 equal parts and you ate all 4 pieces. You've eaten the whole pizza. So 4/4 is equal to one whole. So it's the same here. This bar has been split into 5 equal parts. Our denominator is 5. We've shaded in orange, 5 parts. We've got 5 out of 5, so 5/5. And we know that 5/5 is equal to one whole. And again, imagine it this time. You've got a chocolate bar and you split it into 5 equal pieces. And then you eat all 5 equal pieces. You've eaten the whole chocolate bar. So we know when the denominator and the numerator are the same, it's equal to one whole. But what about this? Each bar is still split into 4 equal parts. So we know the denominator is 4. But how many parts have been shaded in? Because now we've got 2 bars and both have been split into 4 parts. And each part has been shaded in. So let's count how many parts we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now we've got 8/4. And 8/4 is also equivalent or equal to 2 wholes, Because you've got two bars that have been both shaded in. So you've got two holes. So you know that 8/4 is the same as 2 holes. So let's have a look at this one then. Okay, so if we look at the first shape here, let's have a look what it's been split into to find the denominator. We can see that it's been split into 5, and then how many parts have been shaded in? 5. Well done. So we've got 5/5 on the top one, and we know that 5/5 is equal to 1 whole. Let's look at the bottom one. Again, it's been split into 5 equal parts, and 5 of those equal parts have been shaded in. So we've got 5/5, which is equal to 1 whole. Okay, so we know this shape has been split into 5 equal parts. We know the denominator is therefore 5. It's not 10, okay? It's not 10 because we're looking at each shape and what each shape has been split into. And this shape has not been split into 10, it's been split into 5. So we know that the denominator is going to be 5. We've then got to count all the parts that have been shaded in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we know we've got 10 parts that have been shaded in. And we know that 10/5 is equal to 2 wholes. And we can check that as well by doing 5/5 add, that looks like a 3, but it's a 5. 5/5 add 5/5, and we did this in our last lesson. The denominator is the same, so we just add the numerator, and we've got 10/5. And again, let's think back to the chocolate bar. You've got 2 chocolate bars. You split each of your chocolate bars into 5. You eat all 10 pieces. So you've eaten 2 whole chocolate bars. It's your turn. Have a look at the bar on the screen in front of you, and can you write down what that bar is showing as a fraction? What can you see? Okay, so we know the denominator is 3. It's been split into 3 equal parts. How many of those parts have been shaded in? 3. We've got 3/3, which we know is equal to, you've eaten 3, you've split your chocolate bar into 3, you've eaten all 3 pieces, so you've eaten 1 whole. Okay, so now let's have another go at this one. Okay, so first of all, have a look at each of your bars. What have they been split into? What is your denominator going to be? So each bar has been split into 3 equal parts. So now let's count how many parts have been shaded in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 parts have been shaded in. You've got 6/3. So now think about it. What is 6/3 equivalent to? 3/3 is equivalent to 1 whole. So 6/3 is equivalent to what? You've got 2 chocolate bars, remember? You've split each into 3. And then you've eaten all 6 pieces. You've gobbled up this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. So you have eaten 2 whole chocolate bars. So 6/3 is equivalent to 2 wholes. Jack uses a bar model to subtract fractions. So 1 whole take away 3/4. So what we've got to do is work out what 1 whole is as a fraction. And we know by looking at this part here, our shape has been split into quarters. So how many quarters make one whole? So try and imagine that in your heads. And here is a diagram to show you. You've got 4 quarters, each has been shaded in. We've got one whole, so we know that 4 quarters equals one whole. So we can change out the one whole for 4/4 or 4 quarters. Then it simply becomes a very easy subtraction sum. 4 quarters take away 3 quarters. And your answer is 1/4. Because 4 take away 3 is 1, and we know our denominator stays the same. So most importantly, if you've got a whole number in your sum, you've got to turn it into a fraction. And we know that 4/4, 1 is equivalent to 1 whole. So now we've got 2 wholes take away 3 quarters. So first of all, we've got to turn that 2 into a fraction. So we know it's going to be split into quarters, and we know this because we're going to be taking away quarters, as you can see here. So now what we've got to do is we've got to turn 2 into a fraction. So you've got to imagine in your head you've got 2 whole chocolate bars, and you've split both your chocolate bars into 4. Okay? So how many parts do you have? Let's count. So we know it's going to be split into 4. How many parts do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 parts, and they have been split into 4. So we've got 8/4. So 2 wholes is the same as 8/4. So now it's very simply we're doing 8/4, 8 quarters, take away 3 quarters. And you can do this with the diagram, or you can simply do 8 take away 3, and you know that we will get 8 take away 3. Let's get rid of 3 pieces, and you have got 5 quarters, or 1 whole and 1/4. Okay, so now we've got 2 wholes, and I want to see how many fifths that would be. Okay, so you've got to imagine you've got 2 bars of chocolate, and you've split each of them into 5, and you've eaten all the different pieces of chocolate. How many pieces of chocolate would you have eaten? Okay, and if we have a look at this, we're doing 2 lots of 5/5, because we know that 5/5 is equal to 1 whole. We want 2 wholes, so we're doing 2 lots of 5/5, and we know we get 10/5. So let's have a look. So our fraction, our shape has been split into 5 equal parts. We've got 2 wholes, and we've got 10 parts. Okay, and then if we look at this one, we want to see what 3 wholes would be in fifths. So you've got 3 chocolate bars, you split each of them into 5. So you eat 1 whole chocolate bar, you've eaten 5/5 pieces. You then eat the second chocolate bar, so you've eaten 10 bits of 5. And then the third chocolate bar, which has also been split into 5, you also eat them. So you've eaten 15 pieces of chocolate. So you've done 3 lots of 5/5, because 5/5 equals 1 whole. So you've got 15. So let's double check and see if we were correct. Well done. So we've got 3 wholes in front of us. 1 whole, 2 whole, 3 wholes. Each has been split into 5 equal parts. You've eaten this part, this one and this one. So you've eaten 10, not 10, sorry, you've eaten 15 fifths. Okay, and you can very simply do this by taking the whole number here and timesing it by the denominator. So 2 wholes is equivalent to 10 fifths. 3 wholes is equivalent to 15 fifths. So let's imagine that you are trying to work out how many quarters are in 2 wholes. I know I just showed you with the bar, but let's imagine you don't have a bar. So you've got 2 wholes and they've been split into quarters. So you know that 1 whole is 4 fours. Okay, so 2 wholes is going to be 8 quarters. And how I did that is I simply multiplied 2 times by 4, because you've got 2 lots of 4 over 4. Okay? What about if I wanted to work out what 3 wholes was as quarters? So again, I know that 1 whole equals 4 over 4. I know that 2 wholes equals 8 over 4. So then 3 wholes would then equal 12 over 4. Well done. And I'm simply doing 3 lots of 4 over 4, which gives me 12. So now have a think about this one. I now want to do 4 lots, 4 wholes. So 4 lots of 4 over 4. Remember, think about it like this. You've got 4 chocolate bars. You split each of those chocolate bars into 4 and you eat every single piece. So you eat 4 lots of 4. So you would have 16 over 4, 16 quarters. And you can see that I've just multiplied my whole number by the denominator here. All right, so your work for today. Question 1 says, use the bar model to calculate the answer to the subtraction. So it's up to you. If you find it easier without the bar model, you can do it without the bar model. It's totally up to you. First thing I would do would be to look at this number and I would write it as a fraction. Okay, so you know that you're working with 6. So 2 wholes equals how many sixths? Okay, remember what we did in the last slide? We multiplied the whole number by the denominator, which would give us 12 over 6. Then you're doing 12 sixths, take away 5 sixths, which makes it a little bit easier. These questions again ask you to draw your own bar models, like the question above here. So it's up to you again. If you choose not to draw a bar model, that's fine if you want to do it how we've done it above. Or if you do choose to do a bar model, you need to have a look at what you need to split your bar model into. Okay, remember, try and visualize it as a chocolate bar. You've got 2 whole chocolate bars, you split each of them into 8. Okay? So then we're moving on to this question. This is when we don't have a bar model to help us. So you're doing 3, take away 3 quarters. So first thing you do is turn the whole number into a fraction, and then you could do a simple takeaway sum. And then we've got 2 reasoning questions to have a go at today. So when you've done this work, please do upload it to Dojo so I can check and see how you're getting on today.